Let's talk about Harry Kane. Obviously, lots of Spurs fans are getting very annoyed and
Which
irate.
they're going to do, aren't they?
Yeah. Listen, it's funny this because I was reminded yesterday by somebody that when I said, remember there was a massive rumour that I brought to Drive that Pochettino was going to leave Spurs. I said it wasn't going to happen today, it was going to happen in the near future. Everybody had a right go at me and said, this is never going to happen. An ex-Spurs player went on Twitter, said that I was going to be sacked because of this rumour. And what do you know? Within a couple of weeks, Pochettino had left Spurs. So I was proved right about that one. The information was very, very good. Now, I don't have any kind of information that Kane is going to go to Chelsea. But you cannot rule Chelsea out.
Money talks.
Correct.
And if they're one of the clubs that can afford him, it's a choice he has. If it's his choice to leave, he might choose to stay at Tottenham, right? As Alan Shearer stayed at Newcastle for many years when he had other offers, I'm sure. And Kane might stay at Tottenham, but he might not. There might come a point where he says, enough's enough. If we're finishing 7th, we're finishing 8th. I need to be competing. I need to be playing in the Champions League.
I think a lot of Spurs fans, I think there's been a change for Tottenham fans since Mourinho came, and they are now accepting that Harry Kane, if he does decide to go, then he will go, and they will bear no grudges because they think he's the kind of player, the kind of quality where he should be going off and winning stuff. You know, they still regard Glenn Hoddle as a hero, and he left the football club. There are players that have left before, and they're still regarded as heroes, and that won't change for Harry Kane. Now, if he decides to go to a Chelsea, then the opinion may change. However, let's just put this into context. So Alison, as a Spurs fan, has tweeted, there's no way Harry Kane would end up at Chelsea. Another one, Mike, looking forward to this segment. Why on earth would Kane go to Chelsea? I mean, are you all forgetting Chelsea tonight are expected to go into the Champions League semi-finals. They are regularly competitive in Europe. If they're not in the Champions League, they win the Europa League. They don't just take part in it, they win the flipping thing. This is a successful football club, the most successful London football club of recent times. And what do we know about London? Harry Kane loves living here.
Yeah.
So, if he's going to join another London club to stay at home, then it probably will be Chelsea, won't it?
I think what Tottenham fans have got to wake up to the fact is but when it comes down to the price that Daniel Levy's putting on him, which is a lot of money, you've got to try and break it down in how many clubs can actually afford him. Unless they're going to swap him for about 8 players from one club who really want Harry Kane, it has to be a club that can afford him in cash. Not many of them about. Man City can, but they tend not to pay ridiculous money for any player. They might suddenly change their mind with Harry Kane. We know Chelsea have gone up big figures, and they would do, and they've got players they could get rid of to make that deal work. And we know Manchester United, although they'll like to say they don't want to spend their money, but they've also got an absolutely ridiculous-sized squad, loads of players that could get out of the door, and they could bring in Harry Kane. So Chelsea and Manchester United, realistically, Aid, would that be it? If he wants to stay in the Premier League, if he wants to stay in the Premier League, he has to make that choice. Does he live in London or do he go to Manchester? And then there's clubs, obviously, around Europe. Bayern, don't pay that sort of money. That's not going to happen. PSG, definite possibility with Poch and everything that goes with it. And as I said, Barcelona and Real Madrid, at this moment in time, unless he wants to swap Harry Kane for a few players at Real Madrid, which he could do, because he has got a relationship with them, with Modric and Bale, there's a possibility.
I think that we've got to appreciate the market as well and the climate as well. Now, let's just say Daniel Levy puts a price tag of, an optimistic price tag of, say, 180 million on Harry Kane. Probably knowing he's not going to get that, but he's going to wait for the offers to come in, and there will be offers that come in. Just say Manchester United offer 120 million. Just leave players exchange out of this for the second, because I think Levy will be interested in the money. It might be that there's... I mean, if Chelsea said to Spurs, you can have Werner and Abraham and 100 million, I would expect Spurs to say, yeah, well, we'll take a bit of that. But I don't think the player exchange thing will happen. Let's just stick to the money for the time being. Just say Manchester United offer £140 million, say they won't go above that, okay? Just say Paris Saint-Germain say, well, we'll offer £145 million, we're not going to go above that. And then Chelsea say, right, here's £170 million. What do you think Daniel Levy's going to do? Knowing that the player has probably already told him, yeah, I want to leave.
Agree personal terms, which won't be a problem.
Do you think Daniel Levy's going to say, no, I'm going to turn down that extra £25 million because it's Chelsea? He doesn't think like you think, as Spurs fans. He doesn't think like that, and rightly so as well. He's a businessman. He's trying to do the very best thing financially for the football club. They've got a stadium to pay for. So they're not going to turn down extra money just because it's Chelsea. So Spurs fans need to get real about that. When they all thought Sol Campbell would never go to Arsenal, he went to Arsenal and he won loads of trophies. Harry Kane knows that if he goes to Chelsea, he will spearhead their challenge for a lot of trophies on a different level to where he's been with Spurs. You know, they were crying at getting through a semi-final of the Champions League. Now, Chelsea cry if they don't get through. They want to be in that final every single year. They've won the thing. They regularly win Premier League titles. They do it in their sleep.
Well, for Chelsea, right, I think it'd be very... In an ideal world, Harry Kane is going nowhere near Chelsea, right? If he feels
from
that
whose
much
point of view?
From his as a Tottenham player, he's probably thinking I prefer to go elsewhere. But if the money's right and the move's right, and it means I don't have to move house from where I'm at now, and my
I don't even agree with that.
Well,
I tell you why. I tell you why. Because he wants to win. What's his priorities? His priorities aren't a duty to Spurs, otherwise he'd stay. His priorities are making sure that his family is financially secure for the rest of his life. I don't think that's going to be a problem wherever he goes. But also maybe staying in London, winning trophies.
No, but what I'm trying to say to you, the ideal scenario for Harry Kane, but the money for his age might put a lot of people off. If Haaland has already probably narrowed it down to, 4 or 5 clubs, Harry Kane, if the price was right, would have them all. All the big guns would want him. But at that price, for his age, there's not so many. So it whittles it down again, doesn't it?
It does.
So that's the issue. So it might come down to a basically choice of Harry Kane if he decides to leave of only 2 clubs' aid.
Yeah.
It's not like Haaland, who might have 6 clubs to choose between.
I'm hearing you.
Because of his age.
But I think that ultimately, I'm putting myself in Daniel Levy's shoes, and Harry Kane's under contract. So he doesn't have to let him go, but he also doesn't want an unhappy player who has given great service to Spurs.
I am sure there's something in his contract here. There's got to be. How many new contracts has he signed over the last
what
few
do you
years?
mean, a release fee or something?
There's got to be a figure in there.
Either way.
If they don't make Europe, I think that'll be the key in this, the key line. If they don't make Europe. That means Europa League as well, by the way. It doesn't mean just if they don't make the Champions League. This is, if they don't make Europe, there's got to be a clause in there. 100% there's got to be.
But all those Spurs fans who are saying he wouldn't ever go to... Spurs would never sell to Chelsea. You're deluded. He wants trophies. Chelsea win trophies. Spurs, it's run by Daniel Levy. He will sell to the highest bidder, and that includes Chelsea. So don't think for 1 second that Chelsea's out of the equation. It's in London as well. Anybody notice this? Why would he go to Chelsea?
Get a tube to work.
Come on, let's be real. There's so many reasons why he would go to Chelsea. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but you can't rule it out, can you?